And I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Everybody shut up and action. So Oppenheimer is Christopher Nolan's latest movie, and it is a biopic about the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer, the dude who created the atomic bomb. That's what everyone knows him for if you know your history. And honestly, this one was actually pretty good. So this movie takes on a perspective I don't think many people expected in this movie. The movie goes from the perspective of Oppenheimer in a security clearance trial. His security clearance is under question because of his political views past and a bunch of other vammer jammer. The entire plot goes from this point where he has to explain his past before being introduced to the Trinity Project, to being introduced to the Trinity Project, and etc. All in the perspective of him being under trial. So the movie's continuously shifting between time positions, between the past and present. The past of Oppenheimer's past, creating the atomic bomb, to the present of where he's in a security clearance trial. The movie is honestly really interesting. I knew very little about this, and this movie was a journey. So we all know about the Trinity test, where the atomic bomb's first test went through and we saw the explosion there. This movie keeps you interested through and through. You see a variety of characters, from Albert Einstein to Oppenheimer to Louis Strauss and a bunch of other figures from our history, and it's honestly, the movie is more of a character study rather than just the film. I mean, it's based on it's a biopic, so of course it's more of a character study, and it's taking a look at the emotional journey and psyche of Oppenheimer and his fellow scientists through their political views, through the political struggles and the politics around them, of the people surrounding them, as well as their own political views where they face, and their love of science and wanting to explore. It really does take you on a journey understanding their emotions and how they feel about witnessing the atomic bomb and creating it, and the impact this had on them, because obviously there are some people out there who view Oppenheimer as a sort of devil for creating the weapon which will eventually do mankind if mankind doesn't smarten up. So this entire movie is that entire journey in one film, and it's just a really interesting take to see the emotions and psyche of the scientists who created this weapon, to see how they truly feel about what they did. Was it just out of the passion of science, where they don't care what happens about the weapon? Do they want to just create it to explore the science behind it? Or is it that they want to help create weapons of mass destruction? Or is it that they create it and now they want to get rid of it? How does it go? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. But it's honestly a really interesting take on that, and it really gets you into the movie. That's what hooks you in, the understanding the characters and seeing what they want to do with such a dangerous weapon, and the science behind it, and how the progress from nothing to creating this scientific weapon, how the understanding went from one point to the atomic bomb. Honestly, this movie was absolutely beautiful. The acting performances were absolutely killer by literally everyone. There are a bunch of actors from our childhood which I honestly didn't expect to be in this movie, and seeing them in this movie, they absolutely killed their roles. The most notable one for me is Josh Peckman, because he's one of the few that I actually recognize. But Robert Downey Jr. absolutely killed his role. Cillian Murphy absolutely killed his role. Everyone killed their roles. It was beautiful. Albert Einstein went crazy. I love the dude in this movie. This entire movie is amazing. I loved Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein's entire relationship in this movie as it was depicted. Though, if I'm gonna be honest, this movie isn't going to be as highly rated as critics for me, because the biggest issue with this movie is that it's giving a lot of information over a 3-hour time span. So at the beginning, especially at the beginning, it is extremely fast-paced, and it's throwing information at you like crazy, and it's really tough to keep up with it and trying to understand exactly everything that's going on. And then later on, when things connect between past and present, it's kind of confusing, because at times the audio is muffled and you're like, okay, wait, what are they saying? What are they saying? And other times it's like, okay, you get it, but then you don't completely understand it because it's moving really fast, and then suddenly at the end it's recalling, and you're like, wait, where does this take place in the timeline? There's a specific lake scene where we saw in the trailer where Albert Einstein and Oppenheimer meet at a lake. That entire scene has me confused. I feel like this movie does need a second watch to try and fully understand all the different aspects of this movie. I feel like this movie will need a second watch. So I've seen it once in IMAX digital. I'm going to watch it again in IMAX 70mm film. I want to compare the two formats. But I think this movie does need a second watch to kind of fully place the timeline aspects together, as well as try to understand the full depth of the story, because I feel like there is a lot you will miss in the first go through unless you're a history buff of sorts. And on top of that, I mean, the cinematography in this movie was beautiful. The sound design was beautiful, especially at the Trinity test. I absolutely loved the sound design in that very moment. It was gorgeous, especially in a packed theater. it is an entire mood, it's an entire vibe, it's an absolute gorgeous experience that everyone must experience. This movie is one to watch in theaters for sure. If you're only going to watch it once, I highly suggest 70mm film. It'll be playing in that format for a while. It'll be one of the few times we actually get a chance to experience a movie in film, so I believe it'll be worth it. Back to the issues, I mean, the movie is really long, it's at 3 hours, and it really does get exhausting. Like, once you reach a Trinity test, that's the climax of the movie, as we would expect. It's a beautiful scene. Terrible tragedy, of course. I mean, Hiroshima, the bomb's not the best invention in the world, especially with it being used as a deterrent in sorts in modern society. God knows when a nuclear war will break out, but like, the entire, after that point, the movie just gets exhausting because it's throwing a lot of information at you. You just slowly get worn down, and then it just gets tiring after that point. There are plot twists if you don't know history, so that will catch you off guard and get you really hooked all over again after the climax, but like, it does get a little exhausting and tiring to watch after that point, even though it's still a pretty interesting story to witness unfold and learn a little bit about history. But besides that, it's actually a really great and interesting movie. The characters really hook you in, and the entire story of how the atomic bomb was created was something to witness for sure. I absolutely had a great time watching this movie. The entire theatrical experience for this was beautiful. It's a bop. I give it an 85%. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.